Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt that quiet hesitation before stepping into something meaningful? That subtle pull backward right before you speak up, launch the idea, send the application, or take the leap. That whisper that says, "What if I'm not enough?" That whisper is familiar to all of us. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It simply lingers. And if left unchallenged, it can quietly shape the entire direction of your life. Let's be clear. The goal is not to become emotionless. The goal is not to suppress every flicker of doubt. But weak feelings, those unexamined fears and limiting beliefs, become dangerous when we treat them as truth. They feed on insecurity. They grow stronger with avoidance. They convince us to surrender before we've even stepped onto the field. Every morning you wake up and enter a conversation, not just with the world, but with yourself. A constant internal narrator offering commentary. "You're not ready. You'll mess this up. They'll see you don't belong here." This voice often sounds rational, logical, protective. But protection and limitation are not the same thing. Biologically, we are wired for survival, not expansion. The same brain that once protected our ancestors from predators now tries to protect us from embarrassment, rejection, and discomfort. It confuses growth with danger. So it creates thoughts that feel like wisdom, but are really fear wearing a clever disguise. Studies suggest the average person has tens of thousands of thoughts each day, and a large percentage of them lean negative. That's thousands of opportunities daily to shrink, doubt, and hesitate. But here's the shift. Thoughts are not commands. Feelings are not facts. Internal noise is not identity. Imagine if another person stood behind you all day criticizing you relentlessly. You would call it abuse. Yet when that voice comes from within, we often give it authority. But you are not obligated to obey every thought you think. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear lead. Courage rarely roars. Most of the time it whispers, "I'll try anyway." And that quiet decision changes everything. Action diminishes fear. Fear expands in stillness. It grows in hesitation. It thrives in avoidance. But fear shrinks in motion. Consider someone terrified of public speaking. Their hands shake. Their voice cracks, their heart pounds. Every instinct tells them to escape. Yet instead of rearranging their life to avoid the discomfort, they choose exposure in small, manageable steps. They practice in small rooms. They stumble. They forget their lines. They feel humiliated, but they return again and again. Action doesn't eliminate fear overnight. It weakens its authority. Each attempt chips away at the credibility of that inner voice saying, "You can't." Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is the reward for action. You don't wait to feel ready. You move, and readiness catches up. Weakness loses power not through affirmations alone, but through evidence. Evidence built by doing the thing your fear insists you avoid. If fear says don't speak, speak. If it says don't try, try. If it says you'll fail, risk failing. Because action rewrites identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is afraid. You start seeing yourself as someone who acts despite fear. That identity shift is transformative. Numbing is not healing. When life delivers pain, rejection, loss, heartbreak, our instinct is escape. And modern life makes escape easy. Endless scrolling, endless noise, endless distraction. But numbing is not strength. It's postponement. Unprocessed pain does not disappear. It relocates. It surfaces as irritability, burnout, resentment, disconnection, even physical symptoms. Real strength is not the absence of feeling. It is the capacity to feel fully without being ruled by it. Healing begins when we stop running, when we sit in the discomfort long enough to ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Pain carries information. Rejection teaches boundaries. Failure teaches skill. Loss deepens gratitude and empathy. Scars are not weaknesses. They are evidence of survival and adaptation. Transformation is not about pretending you were never hurt. It's about integrating what hurt you into who you are becoming. You don't grow by avoiding emotion. You grow by understanding it. Guard your mental diet. Every input you consume plants a seed. Every conversation, every headline, every social media scroll, every voice you allow into your inner circle. Your mind does not exist in isolation. It absorbs, it reflects, it adapts. If you constantly consume comparison, your brain learns inadequacy. If you surround yourself with cynicism, ambition feels foolish. If your environment is filled with quitting, perseverance feels abnormal. You become what you repeatedly expose yourself to. Guarding your mental diet is not paranoia, it is discipline. Choose inputs that strengthen you. Seek conversations that stretch you. Spend time with people who challenge you to rise, not settle. Read material that expands your thinking rather than inflames your insecurity. Your environment is either training you for resilience or rehearsing your doubt. Choose wisely. Failure is feedback, not identity. Failure triggers shame because many of us were taught that performance equals worth, but failure is an event, not an identity. I failed is data. I am a failure is distortion. The people who progress in life are not immune to setbacks. They simply interpret them differently. They treat rejection as redirection. They treat criticism as information. They treat mistakes as refinement. Children fall repeatedly while learning to walk. They don't internalize the fall as proof of inadequacy. They stand up again. Somewhere along the way, we stopped cheering for effort and started fearing mistakes. Reclaim effort. Normalize falling forward. Ask yourself after every setback, what did this teach me? What can I adjust? What skill needs strengthening? Failure is not the enemy. Inaction is. Define yourself before the world does. If you don't consciously decide who you are, the world will assign you a definition, usually based on your worst moment. Identity is not discovered, it is constructed. You decide, I am someone who shows up. I am someone who keeps their word. I am someone who acts with integrity. I am someone who feels fear and moves anyway. This decision must be repeated daily. Identity is forged in ordinary moments, when you wake up early without applause, when you follow through despite inconvenience, when you choose discipline over distraction, when you correct yourself after falling short. You will not be perfect, you will stumble. But identity is not erased by mistakes. It is reinforced by recommitment. The most powerful stance you can take is this: I know who I am becoming, and then live accordingly. The invitation. You were not designed to shrink. You were not meant to live numbed and reactive. You were not built to let fear dictate your trajectory. Weak feelings may arise. They may whisper. They may linger, but they do not own you. Fill your life not with bitterness, but with better habits. Not with avoidance, but with action. Not with resentment, but with responsibility. Not with noise, but with intentional growth. You cannot control every thought that enters your mind, but you can control which ones you entertain. You cannot prevent fear from appearing, but you can prevent it from driving. Move forward, not perfectly, but persistently. Heal, not by hiding, but by integrating. Fail, not as a verdict, but as feedback. Define yourself, not by circumstance, but by choice. And when that whisper returns, as it sometimes will, pause and respond with calm authority. I hear you, but I choose courage, because strength is not the absence of weakness. It is the decision to rise anyway.